Hi guys, welcome back to another day in the Motor Spirit garage. It's Sunday today, so it's my last day in here. What do I want to do today? Today we are going to corner weight the car. Talked about it a lot, and today is the day we're going to get it done. I've got a few little jobs that I'm going to get done beforehand. I won't bother you with that. I won't bore you with that. So I'm going to get changed, grab a coffee, and we'll get straight to it. See you in a sec.
One of my most favourite things to do is dunk a biscuit in a brew. Oh yeah.
Alright, I've got them small little jobs done that I wanted to get done, nothing too interesting, so don't worry about that. Okay, we're going to get on with corner weighting now. So from what reading that I've done into how to go about this job, you need to start at a good start state, and I'll go through that now. Basically the car, obviously you want it sort of at race weight, so I just put my front bumper back on. Unfortunately I've only got half a tank of fuel, which isn't quite realistic, but that should only hopefully really affect front to back, because the fuel tank's central in the car, and it's obviously biased towards the rear. Tyre pressures, so I'm going to make sure all the tyre pressures are the same, because obviously if they're off, it's a bit awkward. I mean, we're talking really fine points here, but obviously you'd adjust tyre pressures to what track you're on and how it comes out from testing anyway. But you just want that sort of nice flat sort of start state, like I said. So I'm going to get all the tyre pressures the same. I'm going to bump them up to 30 psi all round. And obviously I need to be in the car when I take my measurements. Now, that's the car set. Obviously I've got the scales, I'm going to pull them out in a minute. The scales need to be perfectly level across all four, so individually, and I'll show you how to do it with a plank of wood and a spirit level across all four scales, to make sure that's nice and level, because if it's biased or if it's leant over one way or the other, then you're going to get a slightly off reading, because it's all about the weight of the car. So yeah, we're going to get set up. I'll get that set up. I've never done this before. I've got a feeling it's going to take a bit of a while, but we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a lot of jacking the car up, taking the wheel off, making the adjustment, wheel back on, car back down, me getting the car, take the measurement and see where we're at. So hopefully I can get it so I know roughly how much of a turn on the coilovers how much difference that'll make on the weight. Right, I'm going to stop talking, we'll get the scales out, I'll get them set up nice and level, we'll get the car positioned so that I can obviously move it on and off the ramps as I need to, the scales, sorry, and we'll go from there. So that's the scales set and levelled out. Luckily for me, I didn't really have to do much work. I'm going to put the car on now, make sure they're in the right place, and then what I'll do is mark the ground so the scales will stay in the same place at all times, and it will just allow me to roll the car on and off. So I'll cover this again, but as I make adjustments on the car, obviously they'll be off the scales, and I'll be driving it on and off the scales, because it will just settle that suspension after each adjustment. But yeah, I'll come on to that as I do it. So all I'm going to do now is I'm obviously going to have to move these two front ones out of the way. I'll mark the ground where they are now so I can put them back in the same place. We'll get the car on the scales and get our first base reading. Alright, so yeah, the car's lined up on the scales now. Turn all the scales on and make sure that everything's set to 0. We've got it in pounds, I want to be reading in kilos. Yeah, so we're set essentially. So now I'm going to move the car onto the scales and we'll get our base reading with me sat inside it. Alright, so that's me set now on the scales. Doors are shut and obviously I'm sat in the car. I could probably do with putting my helmet in here. I might grab that out of the van quickly and just sit it on my lap. But we're really talking fine amounts here. I think I'll get this set up to a good sort of start state, and then I can start fine tuning with helmets and things. But at the moment we're looking at 1,011 kilos of me sat in the car and bang on half a tank of fuel. So you could probably add 20 kilos for fuel. And we're looking at, we've got a it's pretty good actually off the bat. I've got to say, I mean, this car handles very, very well, and I feel like I can really dance the car around the corners with shifting the weight, which is quite nice. So, okay, at the moment we're looking at, so we've got 30% on the front left, 35% on the front right, and then 17% on each of the rears, with this rear corner being half a kilo heavier, so 17 and 17.6. So really we're in a pretty good start state anyway. Hopefully we shouldn't need a lot of adjustment. So what we need to do is now we want to load up. The way it works, from what I've read and from talking to friends, it all works in diagonals. So if I want to increase the weight on that corner, I push up on that rear left. So front right, I want to push up on the rear left, and obviously it works in opposites and vice versa. So I can see here that I want to sort of take weight off of the front left, wrong, front right. Well, okay, so the front right's 35. I need to shift 2.5 kilos of that 35 over to the front left. So really, if I want to push up, if I want to increase the weight on the front left, I need to push up on the front right. I'm pretty sure that's my understanding of it. All I can really go with is having a go, and we'll see what results we get. So what I'm going to do is now we'll roll the car off the ramps again, and I'm going to raise the rear right. I'm a spastic with left and right. Sorry, right. Yeah, I'm going to raise that a touch and see if we can move a little bit of the weight over to the front left. Yeah, and we'll see how we go. I'm probably going to do a couple of turns on the coilover, see where that puts us. Let's go with that. So what I'm going to do is undo the locking colour, and like I say, we're going to wind it out. So we're pushing the sort of shock apart by 2 turns to press the weight up on this side, and hopefully press weight up on that front left corner. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, so 2 turns made on the coilover. We're going to stick the wheel back on, get us back on the scales and see where we're at. Okay, so 2 turns made on the coilover. We're going to stick the wheel back on, get us back on the scales and see where we're at. Alright, where are we at? So this has all just changed massively, brilliant. So interestingly, all I've really done is increase the pressure on that rear there. So that's moved from 17.6 to 18.3, so we've gained nearly a kilo, 0.7 of a kilo there. What's interesting is the weight has suddenly dropped 20 kilos, so that sort of isn't giving me much faith in these scales, to be honest. Okay, so we've gained 18 on the back there. I can deal with that. It just means, so now we've got a split of, well, sorry, so we have increased that, well, by half a kilo. It was 30.4 before, wasn't it? So now we're 30.9, 34.4, 16.5 and 18.2. It was 3 a minute ago, but we'll stick with 2. And a total of 992 kilos. So where we've just lost 20 kilos, I don't know if that was a bit of a workout putting that wheel back on. I've lost 20 kilos, I don't know, but okay, so we'll roll with that. So 0.2 of a turn, sorry, 2 turns on the coilovers has given me 0.7. Alright, I've been pulling my hair out about this corner weighting. Well, not really, but almost. And clearly I've been a bit of an idiot with this. So I thought with corner weighting you could magically, you know, even the weight left and right 50-50. Oh, niche, you can't do that. What you can do is the cross weight. So this is the only way I can add weight to that left hand side of the car is by adding weight to it. There's no magic way of like raising this side up and it all leans over that way. No. So I've had a good read up and I'm much better educated now to do this job. So looking at this, hopefully you can see that all right. the cross weight is the diagonals. So the sum of the front left and rear right wants to be equal, as in the percentage wants to be equal to the front right and rear left. I hope that makes sense. So currently I've got 30.5 on the front left and 18.3 on the rear right. So that makes what, 48.8%. And that's the cross weight. So it's the difference between that diagonal and that diagonal as a percentage, not the physical weight. So that's how you can quite easily, by raising one side and one corner and the other corner, you sort of pull that, you're pressing, I'm trying to explain myself better, but you're pressing down on them two corners, which takes weight off the other two corners, and thus you can get that 50-50 cross weight. That's the key word, which I didn't really pay much attention to, and clearly now reading into it, it's about the cross weight. Like I say, if I want to add weight left and right, front to back, then that you're talking about ballast or removing weight from the heavier side. That's the only way you're going to do it. Something that was never really that clear to me when I always looked into corner weighting, but yeah, you live and learn. Good to know. So now hopefully I can have a better result out of this. One thing I really did forget to mention at the start about setting up your car, so with the tyre pressures, getting the scales level, all that good stuff, your car needs to be level as well. So as in the ride height wants to be level all around. If you run a bit of rake front to back, then obviously that's fine, keep that in there. So I checked my ride height and I was 5 mil lower on this side, and that wasn't even with me in the car. So I don't know what difference it makes with me in the car. It's quite hard to measure with, measure the height difference with me in and out of the car. So I've got the car pretty level now. I might have another quick look, just level it up again. I might make this side 5 mil higher, 3 to 5 mil higher, to account for me being in the car. And then from there we'll get this cross weight sorted. And as a cross weight, it will be much easier to get set than trying to magic some weight over to the left hand side, which, like I say, you can't do. So I'm going to take the car off the scales now. Again, I'll get that base ride height level set. We'll get back on and see which sort of diagonals I want to adjust. And the other point to remember as well is you don't want to make massive adjustments on one corner or even opposing corners. So if I want to add weight to these two corners, I'm going to raise the ride height a touch on each corner, but also lower the ride height a touch on the opposing corners, and it makes for a much more sort of level playing field when you're getting the car set up. I hope all that makes sense. I'd like to get that pressed out to people in case anyone else wants to give this a go, because I didn't understand that before I went into it. So it's something, obviously something worth knowing, and I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please give me a shout and I'll try and explain it a bit better. So like I said, I'm going to get this off the ramps now. We'll get our level set and we'll crack on. Okay, what I'm going to do now is set the ride height, find out the difference in ride height with me in and out of the car. So it'll give me a better gauge of how high I want to set this side compared to the other side. So I'm just going to measure it off from the side skirt, because at least then I can see the height when I'm sat in the car as well. So I'll put you there, hopefully you can see that. So obviously going off the same point, we'll look inside here. So we've got 215 around about. So 215. And then with me in the car, we're at, so we've gone from, so we've gone from 215 to a hair over 210, I'll call it 211 for the sake of it, so a difference of 4mm on the side with me in the car. So I'm going to gauge it and set the ride height on this side 4mm higher than that side, but otherwise it will be level, or it will be a 4mm difference left and right, and then whatever the height is front to back. So we'll get that set now.
3,000 guitars, they seem to cry. My ears will melt, and then my eyes. Let that girl rock and roll.
Right, that's the car levelled out again, with this side about 3mm higher than that side. Thing is, we're going to be adjusting the height here and there anyway, so 1mm isn't going to make much difference. So let's put it on the scales and see where we're at. So turn the scales on. They're zero anyway, but we'll zero-wise it just to make sure. It. Make sure the wheel was obviously nice and central on the scales. Okay, so Jesus, these scales are right. I have to get my phone to work this out, but we are 48.8 that way, and then whatever the difference is that way. So with that in mind, 48.8 going that way, so we want to add a bit of height to these corners and lose a touch out of these corners. By the looks of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this on my phone so I've got a reference and see the difference that we make. So I'm going to come up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up one turn on each of these two corners and down one turn on the opposing corners, and we'll see where that puts us. Okay, we've raised the car up. 1 2 1 2 1 turn on these corners, 1 turn up and 1 turn down on these, on the opposite corners. The weight is the same for once, which is nice, and let's just add these up. So now we've gone from 30.7 to 30.3, even though we wanted to go up on that corner, but this corner's gone up to 19.2 from 18.5. So let's add them up, see where we're at. So we was at 48 on the nose, is that right? No, 37 plus 18.5. So 30.7 plus 18.5, which is the weight of these two corners, puts us at 49.2. So it's pretty close. Okay, yeah, that was much easier. Yeah, just as I said, really. So adjusting each opposite the same, and then sort of matching it with the other opposites. I'm terrible at explaining this. I apologise, but we've got it. So as you can see, what we're after is them cross weights. We want these two, the sum of these two, to match the sum of these two. So obviously, it doesn't take a genius to work out. 30.1 plus 19.9 is 50% across that way. 15.6 and 34.4 changes just as I touch it. Across that way is 50%. So that's your cross weight at 50%. So we're even that way and that way. Okay, that's me done for today. Corner weighting done. That was initially frustrating, but once you get the terminology down and you actually read in to what you're doing, it's pretty easy. I don't see how. Like, I've phoned around a few tuner shops and places that did corner weighting, and they want like 250, 300 quid to do a job, which really, if I knew what I was doing out the bat, you know, if I was experiencing this, I could have that done within an hour, 2 hours tops. So what have I learned today? I hope you've enjoyed this learning experience that I've been on today. But first time, and it turned out all right in the end. So what have I learned? The terminology. So you've got static weight. Now static weight is your front to rear, left to right weight, and you can't change that. You can't change that without physically moving weight around. So I'm quite heavy on this side, obviously, because I'm here, the seat's here, most of the real dash work and wiring's on this side. The only way I can shift weight over to that side is either by adding weight to that side, i.e. ballast, or losing weight on this side. So I could look at a carbon fibre seat, helmet, losing some more wiring, lightweight dash, gauges, you know, that sort of stuff. Front to rear again, I can't shift that weight unless I physically add weight into the rear or take weight out the front. Now, people always go on about a 50-50 weight distribution front to rear. Yeah, that's great. However, really, the way the car comes, out of the factory is kind of where you want to be. At the moment, I'm at about a 65-35 split front to rear. I think maybe ideally I'd want to be 60-40, which I'm sure I could probably do, but you know, that's the only way you can affect static weight. So there's one static weight in one hand, and then cross weight in the other hand, which is what I've been doing today. So cross weight is the weight across the axles diagonally, or the wheels diagonally, or the corners diagonally. And you can adjust that using the coilovers and by pressing the weight up and down on each side, as you've seen me do today. So I was getting confused with static weight, thinking that I could shift weight across the car by raising one side. And now that I know, it sounds stupid, but yeah, now I know. So, and that's it really. I found that if this will help you at all, I found that raising the coilover one turn on each corner, be it up or down, obviously correctly. So, okay, so for example, doing the front left and rear right one turn up, and then the front right and rear left one turn down, equated to about 1% of the cross weight difference. So that helps a lot, just knowing that sort of basic sum. I ended up finally fine-tuning it just by tweaking the front corner, because there was a lot of weight and I just wanted to push it off of that corner a bit. So I lowered that a touch, and that brought me on to the bang on 50% cross weight. So yeah, it worked out all right in the end. I've learned quite a lot today actually, and it's nice to learn something new, because I dove in, I thought I knew what I was doing. Other factors, like I say, make sure your ride height is set where you want it and it's level, including the driver. The scales have to be level, and when you put the car on the scales, make sure that wheel is perfectly centered on the scale. I was getting different readings on the scales of around 10 kilos. Because I was a couple of inches further back or forward instead of being perfectly central. So every time I put the car on the scales, I then jumped out the car, checked all the wheels were nice and centered, the scales hadn't shifted, and in some cases they had shifted just for moving the car on and off. So you've got to be on top of all of that. But all in all, now I know what I'm doing, I'll confidently say I could do that. I could do that a full job in under 2 hours, definitely. So yeah, why or how people can charge hundreds of pounds for that, I don't know. So that's it done. I hope you learned something today. I certainly did, and I hope you enjoyed it. That's going to be me now for a few weeks. 2 weeks time, I've got Ted and one of my mates called Lewis coming over, and we're going to have a splitter making love weekend, and I'm looking forward to that because that'll be pretty cool. Bit of aero on the car, so I'll film that obviously, and then after that it will be on to the 6 hour relay race. So look forward to that. That's me then. So thanks very much for watching. Please share it all around. Facebook, Motor Spirit Race Team, and I'll see you next time. Cheers guys. Bye bye.
Rock and roll.